Is Jalon Daniels, does he have a shot at winning Big 12 Player of the Year? What about the over-under win total for Kansas? How many games are they going to win? Plenty of season-long props and predictions for KU football in this episode of Locked on Jayhawks.
You are Locked on Jayhawks, your daily podcast on the Kansas Jayhawks. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on? Derek Johnson here. This is Locked on Jayhawks, and joining me today is Nick Springer, who lost a battle with the sun. He is currently ongoing a battle with a fly as well, so hopefully he can make it through on today's episode.
I wasn't sure how to address the sunburn situation. Yeah, I went to a golf tournament today, and I look like Rudolph. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for making Locked on Jayhawks your first listen every day. Thank you to everydayers catching each and every episode. So today's episode, we're going to be going over some season-long props. We're going to be talking KU football, breaking things down with Nick, and you can catch all of Nick's work with Kansas City Sports Network. You can catch it with Pay Heed as well, which is the podcast that he works on specifically with KCSN, in addition to a lot of the other work that he does over there, and always does great work. Me and Nick used to work together on the radio in Lawrence together. Today's episode, before we get into it, though, is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Okay, so Nick, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off real quick. So the very first prop that I want to go over is the win total. And actually, for a while, that win total was sitting at 7.5 over at FanDuel. It is now 6.5, and that is minus odds, so that they think it's likely to happen. It's minus 162. But let me ask you this. What win total would you most want to bet if you had to pick one? So you can get over 6.5, meaning 7 or more wins, and this is regular season only, at minus 162. You can get over 7.5 at plus 120. You can get over 8.5 at plus 240. And if you really want to have fun, you can get over 9.5 at plus 500. Though at that point, are you better off just taking them to win the Big 12 at 15 to 1? So if you had to pick one of those, what would you go with?
Yeah, I'll just go on the record here say that last year I picked Kansas to go 11-1. Obviously, that was a really poor pick. Really couldn't have been worse, truthfully. And what's so fascinating about the over-under win totals for this season, Derek, is that you look around the Big 12, and most books have like 12 teams within like 3 wins of each other, which indicates to me that nobody has any idea what is going to happen basically in the Big 12 this season. And so that's kind of the predicament with Kansas. And you look at the conference schedule, and again, even going into last year, you looked at the conference schedule and thought it looked quote unquote soft. And then that ended up being not the case to start the season. So I don't know. It's tough. I think I can confidently say I feel pretty good about KU going at least 2-1 in non-conference play, right? I mean, the Missouri game is going to be tough. I'll chalk it up as a loss for now. So that gives you 2. So can you put together 5 conference wins essentially to get to 7 wins at that point, which I think is probably, to me, 7 and 5 is where I'm sort of considered falling on for the most part for Kansas. So I would probably feel safest taking the 6.5. The 7.5 makes me nervous because I don't know. I mean, you think about I can think of 4 games off the top of my head that are easy coin flip games in conference play. You think about the Utah game, you think about Iowa State, you think about K-State, that's 3 right there. The Texas.
Anytime you go on the road, like realistically.
Exactly.
I know you and Arizona aren't supposed to be very good this year, but could you lose one of those 2? Like, yeah.
Easily, 100%. And in fact, I actually, in my predictions, I picked KU to lose against UCF. It just feels like a game that they're going to drop one of those games. So that's the real issue. Is it's so hard to predict before the season where the Big 12 is going to be over the course of the season, and it's going to really come down to when you catch teams, right? Because it's very possible that maybe KU does catch UCF or Arizona on a bad week where they're playing really well and they end up being a 3 or 4 win team overall, but you caught them on a bad week. Or conversely, maybe Texas Tech gets decimated with injuries. I mean, they already lost their running back Quentin Joyner to a torn ACL, and maybe suddenly that game looks like it's a game you can win, right? If Darren Morton gets hurt for the umpteenth time, as he always does. So it's so hard to predict at this point. I would say, again, I continue to sort of circle back to 7 and 5. I think that's probably an achievable, realistic goal for Kansas. But could they go 9 and 3? Sure. Am I going to bet on it? Yeah, I don't know. Probably not right now.
I do like, though, the value of the plus 240 of over 8.5. Like, I'd almost rather take that than the over 7.5 at plus 120. You're getting double the odds to win one more game. And like at that point, the difference between 8 or 9 games or 8 or 9 wins is just like you had one score game probably go your way. Like, that's kind of the difference. So I think that's where kind of the value would be for me. But yeah, the 6.5 makes you feel a little safer. Okay, next one up. More likely, Jalon Daniels wins Big 12 Player of the Year, or any other Jayhawk earns AP first team All-American honors.
Man, I think when you look at the issue with Jalon Daniels is, and he's had obviously a very interesting career arc with Kansas when you think back to being a early Heisman candidate, and then obviously himself being a preseason Big 12 Player of the Year at one point in 2023, to where now it almost seems like he's disrespected, I think, around the league. And maybe that's fair considering last season how things unfolded for him, but he was still one of the top quarterbacks in the league over the second half of the season after he got out of that slow start. So that's an interesting one. But you look around the conference, and I mean, when you got a guy like Sam Levitt at Arizona State, if he has another good season, probably he's gonna have a good chance to win it. You think about some of the other quarterbacks, Rocco. I mean, really, to me, it just comes down to if any of those other teams, even like a Devin Dampier for Utah, if any of those teams make the Big 12 title game, their respective quarterbacks are probably going to have a good chance of winning that particular award, right? Barring an incredible season from somebody else. So that's where I'm a little questionable on Jalon Daniels. I think he would have to do something pretty impressive to win that award. But then on the flip side, you think about AP All-America. I mean, is Bryce Foster your best pick, I guess, unless Emmanuel Henderson just goes crazy on offense? Maybe Daniel Hishaw if he has a great year. On defense, I don't know who would even have a chance.
Well, I think this is what it would take on defense. It would take one of your because okay, we know how pollsters. I don't know, is that like a pollster thing? Regardless, like the people who vote on the people who vote on like the All-American list, for the most part, not everyone, but a lot of them, for like the defensive backs, they're not looking at Pro Football Focus. They're not looking at like coverage numbers. They're not watching the film on all the corners and being like, who's the lockdown guy? They're looking at who racked up the interceptions. So theoretically, if a KU safety or corner had 7 interceptions, even if they were like, the second, like they could give up a 70% completion rate, but they get 7 interceptions with like 2 pick sixes, they're getting first team All-American honors.
Yeah, but I mean, but again, if somebody like that has 7 interceptions, but Kansas is 7-5, I don't think that's enough to get them on first team All-America. So I guess I would go with Jalon Daniels because that let's say if KU is going to make the Big 12 title, which you probably are going to have one about that, I think, later on in the show. But if they are going to make that run, presumably that would mean that Jalon Daniels is going to have a great year, which at that point puts him in the best position to achieve that. So I'll go with Jalon Daniels on that one.
Okay. Let's tackle that one right now. More likely, KU basketball wins the national championship, or KU football plays for the Big 12 championship in Arlington. So they don't have to win it. They just have to play for it.
Yeah, I mean, just naturally, the odds would tell you to pick KU football here because you're talking about 1 out of 16 versus.
I don't think anybody 5 years ago said the odds would say take KU football.
Well, I'm just saying, look, numbers wise, right? I mean, KU basketball, it's a 68-team tournament for now. Thank you, whoever voted on that to deny the expansion because that would have been terrible.
Pretty soon football is going to be 68 teams too, right?
Yeah, that's true too. So the numbers will tell you just simply to pick KU football because they would have a higher likelihood. But I mean, I am maybe the leader of the Darren Peterson hype train right now. I mean, I think he's going to be Cooper Flagg-esque truly for KU basketball. I guess the question would be, do you get enough production out of some of your other transfers? Guys like Trey White, who Bill Self has said has been great, but then someone like Melvin Council. And I mean, I know you and I have had many arguments and discussions about 3-point shooting. Does KU have enough of it again this year? Is another, unfortunately, hot button issue for KU. And then on the football side, like I said, I mean, I think it comes down to, is Jalon Daniels able to elevate his game to that level that we just discussed where he is, a top 2 or 3 quarterback in the league? And then there are a lot of questions on the KU defense. I mean, let's just be honest. They lost quite a bit of veteran presence, especially in the secondary. You're rolling out your top 3 linebackers are going to be brand new transfers. Dean Miller seems to be dealing with an injury to start the year. So what's his status? Does that hurt KU from a pass rush perspective? So a lot of questions there. But, yeah, I'll say this. We'll hop in the time machine, Derek, back to 2017, and I'll tell them that I think KU football is more likely to win the Big 12 title than KU basketball is to win the national championship, and we'll see what they'll think about that. How about that?
You will not make it back to 2025. You'll be in jail. I don't know, mental institution, something like that. All right. For what it's worth, yeah, I think it's football, because if you look at like ESPN FPI, I think it has Kansas at like an 11% chance, and even if you think that is high, if you view it from a standpoint of Kansas is like 20-1 odds. I mean, those are just lower odds over at FanDuel for them to win the basketball side of things. So, yeah, it actually is KU football to make the conference championship game. All right, we got some more props coming at you, including who's going to lead the team in receiving yards, who's going to lead the team in sacks, some Lance Leipold getting dirty with the refs. Plenty coming up on Locked on Jayhawks. Today's episode of LOJ is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. It can definitely help you find those unused subscriptions or extra TV services you're paying for that you forgot to cancel. You need that extra cash right now, right? For the real subscriptions this fall that lets you watch all the football games. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Today's episode of the show is also brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need Open Phone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this, who's handling that. See why over 60,000 businesses trust Open Phone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That's openphone.com, openphone.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, thanks for joining us here on Locked on Jayhawks. You can check out Locked on College Football to get you ready for Week 0 as well. We're joined by Nick Springer, again, Kansas City Sportsnet, and Pay Heed does great work with Kevin Flaherty over there. I am merely Derek Johnson. All right, next prop up on the list. We're going to move to the receiving yards. Emmanuel Henderson, Cam Pickett, or all the KU tight ends combined. Which of those three wind up with the most receiving yards? And by the way, that two deep that came out was a little bit I don't know, surprising might be the word of who was where, and we'll see what that actually means in terms of snap counts. But yeah,
I mean, how shocked are you really, Derek, that Lance Leipold did some screwy stuff with the opening game depth chart? I'm shocked. Personally.
I just always think back to like Hayden Hatcher being above Austin Booker to start the season. In like, I think they really want to give the guys with seniority like that first opportunity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I did a little research here, Derek, and the numbers for the tight ends receiving wise last year were not good. As in, if you were to combine Jared Casey and Trevor Cardell from last season, you end up with about 350 yards receiving between those two guys. And let me tell you, if Cam Pickett or Emmanuel Henderson can't achieve that benchmark, KU is going to have a lot of problems, like a significant amount of problems, all the problems you can think of. So I'm going to go with so is the question, I have three options. It's Cam Pickett, Emmanuel Henderson, or the tight ends.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm eliminating the tight ends already. Just
okay. Now, if we do go back to the year before, which if Jim Zabrowski's offense is closer to Andy Kotelnicki, you get 451 from Fairchild, 107 from Casey. So that's 558. And then Cardell gave you 69. So that's you're over a little over 600.
Yeah. I guess the question comes down to how much are you buying into Deshaun Hanukkah being a real receiving threat? Because maybe Deshaun Hanukkah this year could have 450 yards himself, which I guess is possible. But I'm gonna rule that out. I'm gonna rule out the tight ends. That leaves me with Cam Pickett and Emmanuel Henderson. I think obviously over the court, even going back to spring, 99% of the hype train for the KU wide receiver room has been on Emmanuel Henderson. He's flashy from Alabama, right? Has a ton of speed. Coach Matt Gildersleeve, the strength and conditioning coach for Kansas, said that he was the only guy that hit the same velocity as Jason Bean. I think everyone remembers how fast Jason Bean was for KU. So that's obviously eye-popping. But over the course of camp, Derek, I am becoming increasingly convinced that Cam Pickett may be the more reliable, consistent guy for KU from a receiving standpoint. I think you're going to get those pop plays from Emmanuel Henderson. I think he's going to be the more explosive option, but I think Cam Pickett is going to be the more consistent option. So now it comes down to, let's say if Cam Pickett gets 20, 30 more catches than Emmanuel Henderson, is he getting enough yards to compensate for the fact that maybe Emmanuel Henderson's going to have a couple of deep balls thrown his way? I say yes. I'm going to go with Cam Pickett here. I think Cam Pickett is actually going to lead the team in receiving. Should I just give a number? Should I be so bold as to predict a number? I think Cam Pickett's going to have 780 receiving yards this year, and I think that's going to be the most on the team. That is my prediction. I think he's also going to lead the team in receptions. But I think Emmanuel Henderson could lead the team in touchdowns and yards per catch. But Pickett, I think, is a guy that you can get the ball in space, create yards after catch, and I think he's going to rack some of that up over the course of the year.
Yeah, I've started to shift a little bit in that Cam Pickett is more equivalent to Luke Grimm, and Jalon Daniels always had the best connection with Luke Grimm. Like the years in the games that it was LJ Arnold and Quentin Skinner leading the team in receiving yards were mostly with Jason Bean. Grimm always had that connection with Daniels, so it would make sense with Pickett. I still am going to go Henderson, though, just because, we haven't seen a receiver like Emmanuel Henderson with Jalon Daniels. You know what I mean? Like somebody that fast and it's just different types of players that we've seen there. I guess you could say a little bit of Trevor Wilson, but I think Henderson's even faster than he was and just a more complete player overall. So I am still going to go Henderson.
And I don't mean to douse anybody's optimism for Emmanuel Henderson. I think Emmanuel Henderson's still going to have a major impact, but I'm on the Cam Pickett train now.
Yep. Okay. More sacks, Dean Miller or Justice Finkley plus Alex Bray.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mentioned earlier in the show, get the sense that Dean Miller might be a little banged up to start the season, not 100%. So we'll see if that impacts maybe the start of his season to get things underway. Justice Finkley obviously has demonstrated an incredible amount of leadership for Kansas since arriving on campus. That's been, I think, his number one trait. And he's not a guy that has been brought up in terms of racking up a lot of sacks, but more of a playing on that strong side, really locking things down. And then Alex Bray is an interesting wild card, Derek, because Illinois had him at defensive tackle. They played him on the inside. And he basically came to Kansas because he didn't want to do that anymore. He wanted to be an outside rushing type of player. And so can he prove that's what he is, right? That's what he can be is the big question. I think I'm going to go with Dean Miller still for this one because I don't really know what to expect from Justice Finkley from a sack production standpoint. I think he's going to be a very productive player. Justice Finkley screams to me, actually, Derek, as the type of guy that he's probably not going to have a lot of tackles, probably not going to have a lot of, big plays, but I think he's just going to be the type of player that it's not going to show up in the box score, but he's going to make a major impact just in terms of directing the defensive line, eating up blocks, things like that. And then again, with Alex Bray, I just don't know. So I think I'll go with Dean Miller for this one, but I wouldn't say I'm overly confident about it.
So Bray, not really a big sack guy, but again, he was playing kind of a different position at Illinois. You look at the pass rush win rate, though, for Alex Bray, according to Pro Football Focus, it's under 2%. Now, Finkley last year was 13%, which is really, really high, but it was a part-time role, so it's going to be easier. Miller was closer to that 7% range a season ago. Now, again, when you go back to the year before, when Finkley played bigger snaps, it is closer to that 7% mark. But Jeremy Robinson and Dylan Woodkey combined last year had 6.5 sacks. Miller had 6. I think Finkley is actually going to be a better player than Jeremy Robinson. And I think that Bray, Woodkey gave you 1 sack. Can he get 1 that Woodkey had? So I'm going to actually take Finkley. I'm really high on Finkley. I think he can be an absolute stud. So I'm going to take that too over Dean Miller, especially with kind of the injury stuff at the beginning of the season. Okay, I got 2 Daniel Hishaw ones. We'll piggyback them together here. Over under 2.5 fumbles for Daniel Hishaw. That's the negative one. He's had 7 in his career, hasn't lost all of them. And then the positive one, over under 5.5 demoralizing moves by Daniel Hishaw. That's kind of it when you see it, right? You think of the spin move, you think of the 2 trucks he had against UCF. Like there's a lot that you can point to. So what would you choose for those 2 over unders?
Yeah, the fumbles one is tough because I think with Daniel Hishaw, this feels like I guess redemption arc's maybe not the right term for him, but going into the season, it's like, hey, this is your backfield now, right? Obviously working with Devin Neal and not necessarily being in the shadow of Devin Neal, but obviously always kind of being second fiddle to the hometown kid who was obviously such a great running back for Kansas over the course of his career. And now this is Daniel Hishaw's chance to step into the limelight. And the 2 biggest questions are, A, can he stay healthy? And B, is he ready for that opportunity, essentially? So when it comes to the fumbling, that is an issue that I think has gone overlooked a little bit with what he's had in his past. As you outlined, it's been an issue. It's been a struggle for him at times in previous seasons. I'm going to go under, though. I think he's locked in for this season. So I'm going to go under on the fumbles. He's not going to have 3 fumbles. No shot. For the demoralizing moves, I think I have to go over, right? I just want to go. I just have to go over just because I want to see it. I just want to see more, right? I just want to see how many he can get because, yeah, it's insane. You think back to like that Duke run where I think you could argue he had like 3 demoralizing moves in 1 run against Duke on that one play. And so, yeah, he goes and chucks a couple guys, stiff arms a couple guys, throws them out of bounds, whatever it may be. Yeah, give me the over on Daniel Hishaw. I think he's going to be running different this year.
I'm going to say over on both because if you are getting more trucks, you might fumble the ball a little bit more there. So I'll go over on both. All right, we got some fun ones. Lance Leipold, K-State, Missouri stuff. We got a little more KU basketball stuff and an interesting food question as well. This is Locked on Jayhawks. Today's episode of the show is brought to you by Prize Picks. And the daily fantasy platform lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards with Prize Picks. Preseason's already heating up. College football is so close to coming back. Whether you've got your eye on a big-name quarterback or a breakout running back, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege, and you get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. You'll be able to get in on the week 0 action this Saturday. Prize Picks, run your game. Thanks again for joining us here on Locked on Jayhawks. All right, this is a fun one. I like this one. Over under 1.5 combination of fines and unsportsmanlike penalties by Lance Leipold for being mad at the refs this year. He'll get after the refs.
Yeah.
He does not like to bring it up in the press conference, though. He likes to kind of tiptoe around it.
No. Yeah, and there's been several occasions where he himself has brought up, basically, I don't want to get fined.
Yeah.
For saying,
he's like, you saw it. I don't want to talk about it, but you saw it.
Yeah, that's his favorite
not
card
like
to play.
Mangino dollar signs.
Yeah, that's his favorite card to play in the post-game press conferences. I don't want to get fined, but, you saw what I saw, right? It's like, I don't know, Lance. I think the guy's just trying to do his job, and you're just yelling at him, parading him endlessly. I don't know, man. But, yeah, if you want to have some fun, if you're going to be out at the new booth at any point this season, watch. Just find Lance Leipold on the sideline and just watch him because he paces like an angry person. In fact, I honestly can't recall a single time on a broadcast, at least, where they cut to Lance and he doesn't have any other expression on his face than just pure anger. Kansas can just score an 80-yard touchdown and they cut to Lance and he's frowning, about something. Who knows what?
It's got a little Nick Saban in him. Yeah. Which is not a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was also trying to think, Derek, how many penalties has he gotten over the course of his time at KU?
Did he get one last year? Am I misremembering? I could have sworn there was last year.
That's what I was trying to think. It's how many
game maybe?
Yeah, I was trying to think how many he actually had. I want to say he had one against West Virginia maybe 2 years ago too. Mm-hmm. I was just trying to think off the top of my head how many he actually has had over the course of the last 3 years now.
You would think they go together though. You have a game where you get a penalty, then you're going to bring it up in the press conference.
Yeah, that is true. So this could be, a little 2-for-1. Yeah, a little 2-for-1 special in one game. So You know what? I mean, I've seen Lance Leipold berate officials enough that I'm just going to go over. Something's going to happen that's going to set him off.
It's a fun one to take the over, so I'm going to take the over for sure. Okay, here's a not so fun one. What would you prefer? Kansas goes 2-10, but their 2 wins are over Missouri and K-State, or they go 10-3 and their losses are to Missouri, K-State, and then they lose again to K-State in Arlington, and every one of those 3 losses is by 20 or more points.
See, I hate it when you do this stuff. Like, I hate it. It's genuinely torturous. I think because this is the first year of the KU-Missouri rivalry coming back, I can't decide if that means that it's more important to win this one or less important, right? Because, like, if you lose, you can just be like, who cares? We haven't played in 12 years. Like, what's the difference? But if you win, obviously, then it's like, hey, we just, look at that. We're still beating your ass 12 years later after we stopped playing. But yeah, I mean, the K-State one is a really tough one for me because I hate losing to K-State. I'll say it. I hate it. It's no fun. I was in the booth, when Rich Miller dropped the pick 6, I should have secured it. I was in Manhattan last year watching them battle it out and ultimately find a way to lose.
Maybe you're the problem. You can't go this year.
It's true. I might be the problem. But hey, listen, that can't be true though, because they've lost 16 straight and I've only been to like 4 of them. Okay, so you can't blame me. You can't blame me for all 16. All right, but I don't like in the new booth. This game coming up this year is going to be important because it is the new. I mean, it's 2/3 new booth. So I really want the streak ender for KU to be of a lot of significance, right? Which is why I wanted that one in Lawrence 2 years ago so badly, because it was going to be Devin Neal's last game in the old booth. It was going to be the last game of the old booth in general before they tear it down. So I wanted that one bad. They don't get it, obviously. And then I was like, okay, well, it'd be nice to beat them in Manhattan. Didn't get that one, obviously. So this year I'm like, okay, they're playing in the new-ish booth, the 2/3 new booth. So it's like, that'd be cool, but maybe it'd be cooler if they break it when the booth is fully completed, right? Which would be in 2 years, 2027, I guess.
Why not both?
Yeah, I don't know. But, dude, I don't think I could stomach losing to those boys in the regular season and then again in the Big 12 title. Like, if you were offering me up, hey, KU's going to lose to Missouri and KU's going to lose to K-State, they're going to be 10-2, they go to the Big 12 title game, and they lose to, like, I don't know, Texas Tech or whatever, I'd be like, sure, fine, whatever, I don't care. But to lose again to those boys?
By 20 or more.
That doesn't even matter to me, truthfully.
Okay.
In fact, you may hate to hear this. I think I told you before. I would prefer to lose big in games like that. I would, as a fan. Obviously, as like a player or coach.
Easier to disassociate. Yeah.
Exactly. You had, the Chiefs Super Bowl last year is a great example. I had 4 hours basically to cope with the Chiefs being terrible and losing in the Super Bowl. Versus if you lose on the last second field goal, dude, it would take me like years to recover from that. I mean, I still have PTSD from Marcus Mariota's pass to himself, okay, in a playoff game against the Chiefs. So I would prefer they lose big. So that part is irrelevant to me. I guess I would still take that outcome though, the 10-3, because I think a 10-win seat. Because to me, at that point, the discussion becomes which would be like of greater impact for the program as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. A 10-win season would have significantly more positive impact versus beating Missouri and beating K-State, but going 2-10.
Right. Like, think about explaining to recruits, like, hey, coach, I don't know if, especially like out of the transfer portal, coach, I only have 1 year left. Like, I don't know if I want to come there. You just went 2-10. He's like, but did you see we beat our rivals? And he's like, I mean,
that don't matter anymore.
10-3, 10-3 sets you up for a better chance to beat your rivals in the future. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And look, it's 2025. Unfortunately, I know college football fans may not want to hear this, but rivalries don't matter, especially to recruits. Like, they don't matter. They just don't. I'm sorry. Like, I hate it too, but it's the reality we live in.
Okay, last one I got for you here. This was posted by KU men's basketball for the first day back for school. I don't know if they've been doing these for a couple of years. These are kind of fun. It has Cole Rosario and Darren Peterson on it, and it says, first day of school, my grade, 13th grade, like favorite subject for Rosario, math, for Peterson, science. And then it says my favorite
math?
food.
What are we doing? Math? What? I mean, I haven't even look. I read this top down. So I'm already confused at the math
Okay.
part, and then it just becomes into a total train wreck.
Nick is notorious for being bad at math. So this is the part I want to ask you about, though. It's my favorite food, which they both picked great favorite foods. Cole Rosario is steak. Darren Peterson is pizza. However, it is the way that these are prepared that I have a bit of an issue with. Cole Rosario's favorite food is steak, but he puts in parentheses medium well. And then Darren Peterson puts in parentheses cheese. Can we get the guy a topping? Dude's about to be the first pick in the draft. Can we get him some pepperoni or sausage?
Well, and you made a great point.
Mushrooms, if you want to be healthy.
If somebody asks you, "Hey, what's your favorite food?" and you just say steak, nothing else, they're going to be like, "Oh, sick," right? But if you say medium well steak, they're going to think, "What? What is he doing? What is going on here?"
So the question here is, which one of those is more alarming?
Well, Derek, I think you know this too, but I personally am not a huge pizza guy. Like I don't really.
You're
love
a picky
pizza
eater. Yeah.
I'm a bit of a picky eater. I don't love pizza that much, right? I think the steak has got to be more alarming, because like cheese pizza, sure, it's boring and it's bland, but like I don't think anybody's gonna be looking at you weird if you just get cheese pizza.
No, I mean I don't have a problem.
I guess
with cheese pizza, but for it to be your favorite food, like, come on, what are we doing?
Well, you got to keep in mind, Derek, these guys are still kids, okay? It's okay for them to have their favorite food be cheese pizza for
Darren
now.
Peterson's about to be a multi-hundred millionaire in like 5 years.
He's also 18 years old. He let the man love his cheese pizza. I mean, what are we doing?
Well, the wheel better get some extra cheese pizza, because if Darren Peterson went off.
If we circle back to this and Darren Peterson does one of these things for like the NBA where it's like he's playing with, I don't know, whoever's going to be the worst team next year, and he still says his favorite food is cheese pizza, that's when you call the cops. That's when you're like, look, man, you're 22 years old. There's got to be something else besides cheese pizza.
Well, that's okay. I have culinary questions for the team, but as long as they're good on the basketball court, I don't think anybody will care. All right, Nick, where can you find your work right now? What do you got going on?
Yeah, we're over on the KC Sports Network, KCSN, with Kevin, as Derek said, the paid podcast. You can find us Apple, Spotify. We're also on YouTube at Kansas Jayhawks KCSN. We post a bunch of content there. We're going to be doing some live shows over the course of KU football season as well on Saturdays, post-game shows. Should be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it, and obviously going into basketball season as well. But, of course, your great listeners, Derek, should know that you are obviously the superior KU analyst at this point.
Don't say that. I don't know about that. I think Kevin trumps us both, if we're being completely honest.
That's true. If we're talking strictly X's and O's, Kevin, well, first of all, that guy's ancient, so he should, he's forgotten more about football than I even know. So he should be the most knowledgeable.
There we go. Well, Nick, appreciate the time, man.
Thank you.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Locked On Jayhawks. Again, find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including on our YouTube page, where you can like and subscribe to the show. And we'll see you on Thursday for a KU Fresno State preview.